My name is Beatrice Edu. Thank you very much for joining us. In our first story, Parliament is expected to consider for approval names of the second batch of ministerial nominees that have successfully gone through the vetting process. The Appointment Committee is presenting the report of the last batch of ministers designated that have been vetted so far to the House. Let's get the latest on this story from my colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. He reports for us from Parliament, and we don't have Joseph Opoku-Gakpo right now, but of course we do know that 6 of the 12 are expected to be approved today and the rest next week. Whilst we try to reconnect to my colleague, let's take the story. And the Tema office of the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is calling for the immediate closure of the Bachona Community School. This has become necessary due to structural defects, rendering the building quiet and safe. The school, built over 2 decades ago, now poses danger to the pupils. The directive comes days after the collapse of a school building at Breman Jamra that killed 6 kindergarten pupils.
The Bachona Community School is one of several structures damaged in Tuesday night's rainstorm. Tema Metro Coordinator for NADMO, Hajia Zinabu Abdullahi, recommended that the school should immediately suspend operations because their buildings pose a grave danger to pupils. NADMO, together with Member of Parliament for Tema West, Carlos Ahinkra, also visited Klagon, Sakumono, and Lashibi, where other schools were affected by the downpour.
In going rounds, I think the building inspector and the metro engineer realized that some of the schools' blocks have big cracks. And for that matter, they're supposed to be looked at. There's one particular school that I forgot, which is the Bachona Nursery, which is situated at the Tespo Market. I am going to, as a matter of urgency, issue or discuss with the Metro coordinator, because it's a disaster zone and anything can happen at any time. Especially looking at the fact that it's a kindergarten too, it stands to reason that we'll do something as soon as possible before we see any disasters or calamities happening.
At the Agre Road Basic Schools at Tema Community 2, their computer lab was flooded. As a temporary measure, MP for Tema West, Carlos Ahinkra, asked NADMO and engineers from TMA to erect tents in the affected schools.
We are going to put a report together, submit it to our regional office, and then prompt them that it's an emergency situation because it's a school. And we don't want the children to sit at home. So we are going to treat it as an emergency case to put it back so that the children will have access to their classes and go and learn.
The team also visited the African market at Tema Community 2, where part of its roof was ripped off. Traders were assured that a temporary solution will be found, even as the Tema Metropolitan Assembly works on a long-term plan to rebuild the market. Kwame Yankes reports for Joy News.
Now, the police hospital says it will discharge all patients on admission by close of day today to make way for a fumigation exercise. The exercise is expected to sanitize the environment and prevent visitors from contracting diseases. The shutdown will also compel the hospital to attend to only emergency cases. Public Relations Officer Faustina Afia Nunekweku spoke to me earlier on News Desk.
It has become necessary because, first, we would want to have a very conducive environment and atmosphere for our doctors, nurses, and administrative staff. We wouldn't want a situation whereby a nurse is going to inject a patient or insect some lime and then a cockroach or a mosquito bites the person. You can imagine what will happen. And then also we want to prevent our clients from acquiring diseases from the hospital-acquired diseases. For instance, you come with a headache, a stomachache, and then after you've been treated, you go back with some kind of malaria. We want to prevent that one. And thirdly, we also want to keep our records, the records of our clients, and some important documents safe from rodents and the likes.
And how long will this exercise be for?
It's going to go through from this evening up to Monday. Actually, on Monday, we'll go to the various offices and departments and then open up, clean up, and get the place ready for work on Tuesday.
Okay, so it means that work will actually start from Tuesday morning?
From Tuesday, yes.
But which departments would you exactly be shutting down?
Yes, the radiology department, that is where we've been having our x-ray, the pediatric department or the children's ward, for instance, our chemists, and then our stores, and also the general administration, where the clerical works and administrative works goes on.
And the radiology, that's where you do your x-rays and all of that, right?
Yes,
so what happens to those who are on admission who would have, I mean, the doctors would have to perform x-rays on? What happens?
For those on admission, as at Thursday and then yesterday and then today, we tried as much as possible to discharge them so that they continue with their medication at home. So today we are not doing any admission at the OPD. We are not admitting any child to at the children's ward. But if it is an emergency, that's when we will look at it and get the person stabilized.
So does it mean that as we speak, there's not a single person on admission at the police hospital?
The exercise will actually begin at the close of work, so maybe by 6 o'clock. And before then, they would have been discharged.
Now, the family of a 22-year-old taxi driver lynched at Sawaba in Kumasi for knocking down a pedestrian is demanding justice after a victim of the accident was treated and discharged for minor injuries. Audu Ibrahim was dragged out of a gas station where he sought refuge after the accident and beaten to pulp. A graphic video of the deceased being beaten with sticks has attracted angry reaction after it went viral on social media. Mother of the deceased is demanding justice. Love FM's Erasto Cesare Donko reports.
This video, which has gone viral, has attracted anger and condemnation from the Sawaba community. The deceased, affectionately called Bebrebe, knocked a motor rider with his taxi cab. The victim sustained bruises to the arm and head and was treated and discharged same day at the Menchia Government Hospital. But an angry mob chased him from the accident scene, dragged him out of the premises of a gas station where he sought refuge few meters away and subjected him to severe bodily harm. 2 people were arrested but were released after police say investigations failed to link them to the incident. Police say 4 men identified in the video are currently at large. Mother of the deceased, Alimatu Sadia, is demanding justice.
Maduru one dina kwa doctor dada. Nti eduru doctor no kura no me frɛ no kura wantimi nkasa bio. Onu na wo no anu. Ti amafo ahwɛ me. O di de o mo baka. Me ni abuafo. Kwala no a na abua me kakra me nye bidi. Ti me sra mu amafo. De esi ya bebe yi ana wo mu hunu ye no. Di asampa na o baka kyerɛ me. Amafo na misre wo mo hwɛ na wo mo nka me ni abuafo kura me ni abuafo
na omo ye omo den na omo ye nsa
me a say wo mo kate akwala no di ka ni sonkonsuo ka ana onu nso se wanye kuromfo a kyese wo baba akwofo kuromfo onu nti ana omo hye no bu no a onu nti na mintimi hu
omo so di ka bo moto
ka no a wadi mbo moto wura ni ne di na kyir ka kyerɛ ne sɛ sonkonsuo ka ana onu nso ka sɛ wadi moto no babo no na wadi moto no wa fambo no kura na nipa no huriye ana wokoto ogotamu na ni tira ajuri ani ni kotojo onu nko anti na onu di akumi ba
ese mabo police for amani
ni na something ni na police for amani amampomfo police for to mu chi nipa mienu ana moto kia for no kasa wo mu baba pata nti ya je wo mu akọ ebia ya nche obia bio nipa ni na adwane
na omo abo no obi e ma wanim
de omo bo no ne busu ba ku ne busu fo na ba ye ka kire me se jama wontimin na wontimin da wiye wontimin na wiye esu suwa na wo su ana me susu mi se mi nko ho man ko police station na makwa akoye complain nti wo mu police fo na di afunu bu koji police fo no na wo mu di funu na ba bebrebe woni tam ebia ni bebrebe wo ha woni ntakwa wo mpentakwa da kura na wo ko bu no kura mi ntiase Nintiase.
She's showing me that this is where the deceased resides. This is his room. And she's showing me that one German who has come to her to beg for forgiveness is among those who assaulted him. He used to stay here, but now she's moved. And this is his brother, and he's showing me a picture of when he died. And this is the boy we are talking about. This is the deceased.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Love FM, Kumasi.
And you're still watching News Today on Joy News. We'll be back very shortly. Stay with us. You're still watching News Today on Joy News. Now, workers of Ghana Dock Labour Company have been assured that allowances and arrears, which were delayed, will be paid in February. The assurance follows a meeting between management and leadership of the workers at Tema today. The meeting became necessary when agitated workers prevented their executive director, Mark Boafo, from accessing the company's premises.
At the meeting, leadership of the workers impressed upon management to pay their arrears, allowances, SNET contributions, among other demands leading to agitations earlier today. Aside the above, workers are accusing their executive director, Mark Boafo, of lavish spending. According to the union chairman, Alex Osei, the leadership style of the executive director is to detriment of the dock workers, considering the tedious nature of their work at the Tema port. He tells Joy News that the workers have been taken for granted for far too long.
The director let us know that coming on ending of this month, the second week of February, they are going to pay our standing 2 months bonus and leave allowance, and then the Provident Fund, the arrest, ending of February, they are going to pay all their standing months, that's 7 months they are going to pay, so that April, then they share the Provident Fund for us, and then the SNET, and then the tier 2, they give us 1 month, 1.5 months to do reconciliation, so that they will, since we go on right now, they will do it for us.
Alex Osei says the workers are not happy despite the assurances given and are calling on government to sack the executive director, Mark Boafo. They believe a new director will bring a different sense of direction as far as operations of the company is concerned. The workers are optimistic that government will heed to their cry, adding they will advise themselves if management fails to deliver on their promise.
The director, we don't need him here, but what he say, we'll wait until that 1.5 months, and then we see whether he can pay the money or not. If not, then we know what we will do. You use our money, 2013, go buy V8, as you use this car, and then all of a sudden, they bring the car inside the yard, and then we say, oh, one day we hear say that executive director in V8, he get accident, and you mobilize another money again, go buy another V8, 2016. The grounds, all of them are say they don't need the director, the executive director now. So any different director who will come, he will come and listen to the workers and help the workers. So that we need the executive director who will think about the workers, not he himself, because it's we that we work and then the money will come. So we need an executive director who will think about the workers, not the executive director who will think for himself first before the workers. No.
Leadership of the workers fear the current situation may affect output of workers. A report by Kwame Yanka for Joy News.
Let's return to our first story about Parliament expecting to consider the approval of names of the second batch of ministerial nominees that have successfully gone through the vetting process. And the appointment committee is actually presenting the report of the last batch of ministers designate that have been vetted so far to the House. And my colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo joins me on the line now with details. Joseph, how far with the presentation of the report?
And so the House has begun sitting a few minutes ago. They are considering other businesses, including what they call the business statement, which is the outline of activities for next week. And there have been a number of other statements on the floor of the House. And so the House is in session, but the debate when it comes to the report of the appointment committee itself has not begun, and that will be starting any moment from now. But we've been speaking to some members of the minority, specifically a member of the appointment committee on the minority side, Al-Hassan Tuhini, and he's been confirming that when the issue comes up on the floor of the House, they would formally object to the approval for Otiko Afisa-Jaba as the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. And he's been explaining to us that they think that she doesn't have the temperament, they think she's too abrasive, those are his words, and they think that with how she carried herself when she appeared before the committee, and even issues about how she had carried herself before the appointment committee session, including allegedly calling President Mahama evil and not agreeing to retract it when she appeared before the committee, is an indication that this is not someone who can take care of the vulnerable and will not be able to discharge her duties as Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. And so they are going to object to that formally when the debate on the floor of the House begins. But when it comes to the 5 other persons whose names are contained in the report, Dr. Anthony Akutose, Dan Boche, John Peter Mewu, Ignatius Belfuewa, and Samuel Atachia, the minority has absolutely no concerns about them. So they will support the approval as ministers of state.
But Joseph, per the structure of Parliament now, this concern being raised by Alhaji Suhini will definitely not affect the overall or the subsequent approval, actually, of Otiko Jaba.
Exactly, because even at the level of the appointment committee, the NDC side is on the minority, and then the NPP side has the majority. Right at the level of the appointment committee, the minority disagreed with the approval, they voted against it, but the majority used their numbers to push her through. It's very likely that that's the same thing which would happen on the floor of the House itself, where we will see the minority voting against her and the majority approving her. So it's very likely she would get the nomination. But the minority says they want to put it on the record, in quotes, those are their words, that they have strong objections to Madame Otiko Afisa-Jaba becoming a Minister of State.
And Joseph, you made a point about other issues being considered now. You mentioned the list of issues that would be discussed from next week in the House. But what specific issues are being discussed today on the floor?
Well, there's expected to be a statement that will be coming from George Anda, who is the Member of Parliament for the Owutu Senya area. He will be delivering, a statement on the floor of the House about something relating to communications generally, and there will be other statements as well from other members of Parliament.
Thank you very much. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is our parliamentary correspondent from Parliament. Let's move on to some other stories. And chiefs and queen mothers of the Nkranza traditional area have resolved to resist any attempt by mining companies to either do exploration or actual mining in their respective areas. In doing so, the traditional council members pledged to educate their subjects on the socio-economic effects of mining on the livelihoods of people. The chiefs and queen mothers made the declaration at a 2-day workshop in Nkranza for chiefs, assembly members and opinion leaders on the internationalization of the ECOWAS mining directives for mining communities.
The sensitization workshop, which was organized by the Wasa Association of Communities Affected by Mining WACAM, with support from OSIWA, schooled the traditional and opinion leaders on the impact of mining on human health, overview of mining in Ghana, and review of the Mining Act 703, among others. The chiefs said they will never accept mining in their areas because its negative impact is too enormous, per what the workshop has taught them.
Wakam no si wa me ehunu ukọ ba bia ensase asai wo mo nse atwitwa wo mo se bianya de tua keka wo mo a se bianya do enam agudie tuo ɛne nhyehyɛeɛ pa a amɛtɔ nananom ɛne saa agudie tuofoɔ no ntɛm no ama yɛ manfoɔ no a yɛdi wɔn so no ɛne nananom bebree atɔ baha enti ɛnɛ yɛhu sɛ Osiwa ne wakamfoɔ abɛme yɛnya nteaseɛ sɛ nananom yɛso yɛwɔ nhyehyɛeɛ ɛwɔ mu papa yɛnwene yɛ manfoɔ ho sɛ yɛne kɔmpɛna bi ɛyɛ biribi a yɛnwene sɛ yɛ manfoɔ nti ne yɛwɔ hɔ asase ne yɛ me dea me na meyɛ nana deɛ mepɛ ɛna meyɛ woyɛ saa woayɛ mfomsoɔ asase no woyɛ hwɛsofoɔ sɛ yɛ nananom ɛbɛko gyeeɛ no so ɔmode ɔmo nsa si abo sɛ medeɛ na nka ɔmo tɔn ne nyinaa de ma kɔmpɛna a nka nnɛ yɛbɛyɛ dɛn ne yɛso yɛnya bi yɛyɛ hwɛsofoɔ na nananom yɛnkan ho ne sɛ yɛhwɛ so de ato ama nkyirima.
Associate Director of WACAM, Hannah Owusu Cranton, stated that her organization seeks to sensitize communities on the ECOWAS directives and how to apply it in their communities to reduce the negative impact of mining.
We're trying to focus on areas where mining is not happening today, for them to be informed ahead of mining. And we think once we have that kind of information, they will be better positioned to have a good conversation with companies and governments when the time comes. More importantly, we think that once people become aware of the free, prior and informed consent, it's not business as usual where they will just accept mining as a development option, but then they weigh the pros and cons of mining and be able to have information based on which they can give the consent. And we think that once you go through that exercise, you can minimize the problems that companies may face, you minimize the problems that government may face, you minimize the problems that communities may face. And so we think it's a proactive way of engagement, which if we have the resources, we are going to duplicate in many parts of the country, especially in areas that can be mined, but which mining has not begun.
The command of the Ghana Armed Forces 4th Infantry has changed for the second time in 2 years. Lieutenant Colonel Sebastian Abraham Ahin takes over as commander from Lieutenant Colonel Hussein Salifu. Kwesi Deborah has more in this report.
At a handing over parade, Lieutenant Colonel Fuseni lauded the unit for its role in ensuring peace during last year's election.
To date, we continue to strengthen our professional direction to meet prevailing security challenges and have successfully undertaken several internal security-related operations in close coordination with civil authority to nip serious threats that had the tendency of causing fear and panic among the civil populace in the big bad. Of major significance last year was our role played during Operation Peace Trade in support of the Electoral Commission of Ghana to ensure peace and security for the smooth conduct of the 2016 presidential and parliamentary elections, which I must say was the most peaceful election.
Incoming Commander Lieutenant Colonel Ahin has served as infantry officer at the 5th Infantry Battalion. As a senior officer, he held various command and staff positions, including Deputy Commanding Officer in Liberia. Most recently, he was Deputy Army Secretary at the Army Headquarters in Accra. Lieutenant Colonel Ahin tells Joy News strengthened civil and military collaboration will receive serious attention.
The military is essentially there to protect the integrity of our country and ensure that the good people of Ghana, the good people of Asante Mine, live in peace and go about their duties without any disturbances. So once we are working in the interest of the nation and the civil populace, I believe that it is important that we work together hand in hand so that collectively we can achieve development for our dear nation Ghana.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, some sports news, and the Black Stars of Ghana lost by 2-0 in yesterday's semi-final game against the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. With the performance of the team in the preliminary stages, many Ghanaians were optimistic the Stars would qualify for the finals of the ongoing AFCON and subsequently end the over 3-decade trophy drought. But that hope was dashed yesterday as the Stars succumbed to the pressure from the opponent. We're out on the streets of Circle to find out from some Ghanaians what they feel about the match.
I don't understand our coach. Coach, we want to Ghana for a keeper for them. I said go change keeper now to use the local players. You have to use the local players because the foreign players, they all have their own money already. You understand? So if you use the local players, they will motivate. If you motivate the local players, they can play very well for Ghana to move forward. So you have to. It's time for us to use the local players now.
It's so good, but the way I see the point is going, the coach play ball with the Ghana, our coach. He play ball with the Ghana. I don't know the reason why. If you won the goal, you won't go, and you don't have the goal, and you do changes like this. I think the coach no good for me. Therefore, change it.
I felt so sad because one, if Nigeria is still the GFA boss, then Ghana can never bring any cup to the country. Especially, he has to be sacked from his position. The goalkeeper have to be dropped. Some of the key players have to be dropped and bring in some fine local players and strikers. You know, these Cameroonians brought in more of their local players than the foreign-based ones. If you continue to be bringing these foreign-based players, then there'll be sorry headache. We pamper them a lot, which is too bad.
And Emmanuel Aboajiri will join us very shortly after the break with some revelation on what the current administration is finding about the real state of the economy. Stay with us.